This video is sponsored by Raycon. Hey everybody, I hope you guys are all healthy and safe. So if you follow my channel regularly, you may know that I've been shooting a lot of my videos lately, especially moving ones, with the Sony ZV-1. This is that new vlogging camera from Sony that has caught the YouTube community by storm. Even though I do like the camera because of its compact size, I am very disappointed by its stabilization because whenever I'm walking, it's supposed to have Sony steady shot stabilization, but video still comes out jerky. Now conversely, this video you're watching right now, it's a lot more smooth, right? It's a lot more fluid, right? That's because I'm shooting this with the idle cam. It is also a tiny compact camera, but this one is built on top of a gimbal. So the point I'm trying to make is no matter how good electronic image stabilization get, it can never beat a dedicated hardware image stabilization system, which is a gimbal. And that's exactly what Vivo had in mind when they made the Vivo X50 Pro. This phone's main selling point is that its main camera, it's built on top of a gimbal. Now the gimbal inside the X50 Pro is tiny because it fits inside this phone, but it actually works because I tested this already a couple of weeks ago in a video where I held this phone and ran with it side by side against the iPhone 11 Pro and a couple of other Android devices. Now I've been using the X50 Pro as my daily driver, so this is my full review. Now I find that even in addition to the gimbal camera, which actually works to a point, the rest of the package is really nice and there's a lot to like with this phone. It's a mid-ranger that punches above its weight class and almost can go toe-to-toe with flagship phones of 2020. Okay, so before I continue on with the review, I would like to take a minute to talk about my sponsor, Raycon. So Raycon is a wireless audio company founded by US musician Ray J, and they make wireless earbuds like these ones right here, the Raycon Everyday E25 wireless buds. They are really compact and they offer really good music quality, and they start at less than half the price of what Apple or Samsung charges for their true wireless earbuds. So the case, as you can see, is really small compared to other wireless brands out there, and the earbuds themselves are very light and discreet too. For example, I'm actually wearing one of them on right now. You see, you didn't see that in frame, right? Now, that would not be the case if I was wearing a traditional earbud like these ones here. If I was wearing one of these, they stick out like a sore thumb, right? I mean, don't be fooled by the tiny size of the Raycon E25. They actually pack a major audio punch. You get really clear highs and mids, and also a really loud bass. Because, you know, this company is founded by Ray J, and a lot of hip-hop artists such as Cardi B and Snoop Dogg, they love their earbuds. And you know, when you listen to hip-hop, you need that little kick, and these earbuds more than deliver. Now, connectivity is really easy. You just have to pair them once, and after that, anytime you open the lid, you take them out and put them in your ear, they will automatically connect to your smartphone or tablet or laptop. Now you can control music playback by pressing on this physical clicky button here. Just one press, it will begin playing music. One press again to pause. Double tap on it to skip tracks. And these buttons are on both sides, so you can control your audio no matter which hand you're using. Now the pair of Raycons that I have are black, which I like because they're sleek and they further disguise themselves inside my ear. But Raycon also sells these in different fun colors too. If you're interested in checking this out, please go to buyraycon.com/BensGadget. That's my special code. With that code, you'll be able to get 15% off the price. Okay, back to the Vivo X50 Pro. So I want to talk a little bit more about the gimbal camera system because this is the main selling point of the phone. So almost all modern day flagship smartphones today do indeed have optical image stabilization. And that's what Apple or Samsung uses along with electronic image stabilization to stabilize your moving videos. But the OIS seen in those phones are a 2D version of OIS, meaning the camera lenses will stabilize motions moving up and down and moving left and right. So it's a 2D plane, left and right, up and down. But the gimbal camera built into the X50 Pro stabilizes in the third axis, which is this way, Z movement. And that's what gimbals mean when they say it's a 3-axis gimbal. It covers X, Y, and also Z. So the fact that the gimbal camera here takes into account Z-axis movements means that it will stabilize footage a little bit better if you're shaking the phone like this. Check out this cute dog right here. Hey buddy. Okay, so as I mentioned, I made a video a couple of weeks ago testing the stabilization of the gimbal camera here alongside the iPhone 11 Pro and the Google Pixel 4. And what I found was that the extra Z-axis stabilization, it's only noticeable if I'm doing something kind of extreme like running or climbing upstairs while filming. If I'm just walking at a normal pace like right now, the stabilization of the X50 Pro isn't necessarily much better than the stabilization of the iPhone 11 Pro. So check the first example here. I'm walking down my neighborhood at night. You notice that if I'm just walking normally, both the iPhone and Vivo's footage are pretty similar. But if I run, then you see that the Vivo X50 Pro's footage is noticeably a little bit more stable compared to the iPhone 11 Pro. Especially if I speed up the footage to 2x, then you see that the iPhone shakes a lot more this way, the Z-axis. Now with the second example, you see that I'm walking down the stairs really fast. And again, the iPhone 11 Pro stabilization is actually pretty good, but you see a little bit more Z-axis jerkiness compared to the Vivo X50 Pro. Okay, I know that it might be slightly disappointing to hear that the gimbal stabilization really only kicks in if you're doing something extreme, but I don't think you should be that disappointed because Vivo is not charging you like a premium price to try this new technology. This phone is a mid-tier device. I don't know the exact price, but it's going to be sold at around the $500 mark. So it's half the price of the iPhone 11 Pro, less than half the price, and it offers slightly better stabilization, even if it's just slightly. The gimbal technology does work. And if you actually shoot with two hands, meaning you give a little bit more added stability, you get really smooth videos even as you're running up and down, which I'm gonna do right now. So footage turned out pretty smooth and fluid despite me running uphill and running downhill downstairs, right? In fact, just look at some more of these video samples which I've shot over the past week. I think you'll agree that overall stabilization is really good and better than what many phones can do, considering some of these conditions are pretty difficult and I'm running. Especially this video right here, I'm really impressed with how this one turned out considering I shot this at night. And you know, when you don't have as much light to play with, stabilization takes a hit because ultimately digital imaging requires light, and that's why if you shoot videos with an iPhone under the sun, it's going to come out a lot better than shooting videos at night. Okay, let's talk about the hardware really quick. So the Vivo X50 Pro is a 6.5-inch OLED display, refreshes at 90 Hz. Everything was razor sharp and the curved edges are really comfortable in my hand. In fact, this is one of the lighter phones on the market at 180 grams, and this phone's thickness is only 8mm. This is actually the thinnest 5G phone around because the phone runs on Snapdragon 765G, so it supports 5G cellular connectivity. And for 5G phones, you can't get anything thinner than this. I also like that the top and the bottom of the phone's completely flat, so that means the X50 Pro can actually stand on its own on a flat surface. Now around the back is that quad camera system, headlined by a 48-megapixel f1.6 Sony IMX camera. It captures really nice and sharp images during the day because, you know, this is Vivo's like 4th or 5th time using a Sony IMX sensor. So Vivo has figured out how to fine-tune the lens to work through software, and images during the day are excellent. Even at night, the f1.6 aperture really helps it bring in light. So I find that I don't even have to use night mode. I can still get pretty nice looking night shots in the city. Now down here you have a periscope zoom lens. This is an 8-megapixel periscope zoom lens that can do 5x lossless optical zoom and up to 60x digital zoom. Now at 60x, I would say photos are respectable, but they're not great obviously, and they can't compare to what the Huawei P40 Pro Plus can do. But if you keep the zoom level at 20x, you can get something pretty nice that you can post on Instagram directly. But at 60x is still usable in a pinch. For example, if I want to get closer to this billboard to see Lisa and Jenny on Adidas billboard. So then down here, you have two more cameras right here. One of them is an 8-megapixel ultra wide angle camera that shoots a field of vision of 120 degrees. So that's a pretty wide view of vision. And as usual, if you shoot during the day, everything looks great. But because the sensor size is a little bit smaller and it's also only 8 megapixels, so that means if you shoot in low light conditions, images are going to come out a little bit messy and dynamic range is going to suffer. But fortunately, Vivo has a really good night mode that once you turn it on, you can basically fix all the problems of the inferior ultra wide angle hardware. You can get pretty respectable ultra wide angle photos now. And over here, it's an 8 megapixel depth sensor, and it does the job. It captures really nice, clean looking bokeh with that natural bokeh depth of field effect that's relatively creamy. And Vivo's camera software is also improved by a lot in this generation. So with the bokeh mode, you can actually change the digital f-stop so you can adjust how blurry the background looks. And you can also change the point of focus after the fact. Another feature I really like is eraser mode. So if I tap on edit and I tap on right here, object eraser, then from here, I can just draw over parts of the photo that I don't like and it'll get rid of it. It works really well. Now this is something that you can get from Adobe Photoshop or many other paid video editing app. But again, I've never seen this feature built in to a smartphone camera app. And this is very useful for people who don't want to pay for Adobe Photoshop. So overall, I'm pretty happy with the camera system of the Vivo X50 Pro, and it's actually a big jump over the Vivo Nex 3, which is Vivo's last flagship. If you remember, that phone had pretty poor image stabilization, and whenever I take pictures at night, it would blow out the highlights. Now this camera is smart enough to, not really make any major mistakes. You really have to nitpick to find flaws with photos. Now software has previously been a pain point of many Vivo phones. FunTouch was just not my cup of tea, or not most people's cup of tea. I'm happy to report that Vivo has improved on FunTouch by quite a lot. We are now on FunTouch 10.5. So you have a really nice dark mode and a really easy to use swipe gesture navigation system. So the basics Vivo has got right. And the biggest change that Vivo has made to the software is that now when you swipe down from the notification shade, you see that these shortcut buttons are on the notification shade now. Previous FunTouch software, these buttons were not here. They were down below in this swipe up menu that was a ripoff of how iPhones used to do it. Nobody really liked that in the Android space because it's so different from what Google has been doing for like over 10 years. So I'm glad Vivo finally changed it up and given us something closer to a traditional Android experience. Now, unfortunately, you cannot bring down this notification shade by just swiping here. You have to reach for the top of the screen just to bring down the shade. This is one of my biggest pet peeves of smartphones. Thankfully, there is a pretty usable one-hand mode that you trigger by swiping in and out. And after you bring it down the screen, now you can bring down the shade easily just like that, or reach for any apps up top if you have it up top, or if you're typing the keyboard, it's a little bit smaller. There's also this shortcut menu that you can trigger when you swipe from the sides and hold. After that, you'll bring up a series of apps. These are customizable, so you can put whatever you want on it. I've put camera, Gmail, and microphone recorder, and I can launch microphone recorder right away. You can put whatever apps you want there, so if you want, you can put, Snapchat, Instagram, Tinder, whatever the heck you like. Now in terms of battery life, there's a 4,315 milliamp hour battery in here, and it's been enough to last me all day. I left the house today at 11 a.m. and it's 5 p.m. right now, and I still have 69% battery life. So that means this phone's gonna last me all day out today, even if I stay out really late. If you want to charge, there's fast charging in this phone, but unfortunately it's only 44 watt fast charging. That's still pretty fast, but it is quite slow compared to what Vivo's sister company Oppo is offering us with the 65 watt fast charging. But still, I guess I'm just spoiled by Oppo because 44 watt is still pretty damn fast. Now, as I said, I don't know the exact pricing of the X50 Pro because it's gonna vary by region to region. This phone's gonna hit the India market, also Vietnam, Singapore, Hong Kong, and parts of Europe too. But I'm guessing it's gonna be around the $500 US range, a little bit cheaper in Asia. And at that price, you're getting a really exciting new technology. So this gimbal camera system, it may not make a huge difference now, but this is Gen 1. Eventually, Vivo will improve the tech by Gen 2 that it might be a game-changing improvement for video recording in smartphones. Even if you don't use the gimbal camera system, this is still a pretty top-notch phone all around. The only omissions that's missing is there's no wireless charging, there's no IP68 water resistance, and the ultra-wide-angle camera, if you use that at night, you're gonna have to turn on night mode because otherwise it's not that good. So that's about it for this review of the Vivo X50 Pro. This is interesting because this is a mid-tier phone in price and in processor, but you're actually getting something like a hardware innovation here that we've never seen before and could potentially be a game changer for smartphone videography down the line. So once again, I would like to thank my sponsor Raycon. Raycon E25 are one of the most affordable premium true wireless earbuds on the market. They have great battery life too, 6 hours per charge, and there's like 4 charges in the case. And I really like that they're discreet. I can wear them and you won't really see it unless you look closely, because I'm actually wearing the earbuds right now. I wouldn't be able to pull this off with an AirPod. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching.